Okay, this is part 2, left off where I just asked my attending physician if we could put in another implant between tooth 3 and 5, now that we already had a temporary bridge made and just use that temporary bridge until the third implant heals on that area, and then put in 3 separate teeth. And he said under his breath to me, he said, there's no room for a tooth in between those two because the implant's in on an angle, because of that angle. Okay, so I already knew that. You don't have to be a dentist to look at an x-ray and see the angle that that implant was in on and know that you can't put a tooth there, okay? And I knew at the time there was shit gonna fly because of all the other stuff I've already been through with them. I'm still trying to figure out how to get an exact reason why that tooth was in on an implant. Even the surgeon that did the implant told me later on that he had to take the crown off of tooth number 4 in order to put the implant in, and I went, you shouldn't have had to do that. Well, okay, so now, fast forward to 2020, March of 2020. Well, December of 2019 and January, February, March. December, January, and February, I flew back from Florida to go to dentist appointments at U of M to do some work. They had made all my abutments. They put them all in and tried them out. All of them fit except for the bridge down here on the bottom. So they cut it, installed it, glued it in position with it installed in my mouth. Then they removed it and sent it back to the lab to solder it. And the next thing that should be done was to be checked to make sure that it fits, and then finish them up. Put the porcelain on, bolt them in. So, and that's what was going to be done. That second fitting after the solder last March of 2020, and coronavirus screwed that all up. I couldn't get a plane. I had the plane flight, but I couldn't fly home, or chose not to. And the school was closed anyway, so it wouldn't have done any good to fly home. So, and I've not been able to get in. And now I waited for the lockdown to stop. I knew the school wasn't doing anything for a while, pretty sure, and not much if after that. But once the lockdown was determined to be unconstitutional, which took ridiculously long, I expected the school to start functioning again. So I called the school on September 1st this year, 2020, to get an appointment to come back in. And I said to the girl, she said to me, do you know what needs to be done on your next appointment? And I said, yes, they need to put this abutment back in, see if it fits. And if it does, send all of them in to the lab, get the porcelain put on them, and put them in. She says, okay. She says, well, we're moving our office from the second floor to a lower floor. I assume it would have been the first floor, because after that it's a basement. But she didn't say, and I haven't been back there. Now this is September 1st. So she makes me an appointment for September 8th. And later that day, she calls me back and she's, I forgot to finish my description of them moving the department. They're going to move the department from the second floor to the first floor. They're going to start doing that in about a week, and it should take about 2 weeks to complete the move. Now, I don't know if I didn't get that information on the first call, but later that day on September 1st, they called me back and said, you know, we can't do September 8th for those reasons. They're moving the department. start in about a week, and it should take about 2 weeks. Can you come in tomorrow? Well, I couldn't. I had other stuff I had to do, and it didn't involve only me. I don't remember what it all was, but I do remember telling them. And on top of that, it was my birthday. Not that it matters. I'd have still gone to the dentist. I would not go because it was my birthday. But there was just a lot of other plans that day, and I couldn't. She says, well, then that's when she told me, she says, well, if you can't make it on the 8th, we're going to move the department, start in about a week, and I promise I won't repeat it any more than this last time. And it should take about 2 weeks. So I waited 4 weeks, expecting them to call me when it got all moved and reschedule me an appointment. They didn't. So I called them in 4 weeks. When I called them, we didn't move yet. We've just got it rescheduled to move. And it just dawned on me right now, if they didn't move in that period of time, why didn't they call me back and keep that September 8th appointment? Yeah, I know. I'm not the only patient. But anyway, so a little brain cramp here. I'm starting to wear out. So she said the same thing that time. Look, we're going to start maybe sometime this week, and it should take 2 weeks. So this time I only waited 3 weeks, not 4, to call them back. And they had moved. So, but either way, so when I called her back in a month, they told me the same story about moving. So I waited 3 weeks and called back again. And she asked me again, do you know what they need to do on their next appointment? And I said, yeah. I said, and I told, I won't repeat it to bore you guys. And she says, well, you know, your doctor has graduated. Now you're going to get another new guy. And he's going to want to go, you know, do all this other work and, you know, reevaluate you as a patient and all this stuff. And I said, look, I said, under ordinary circumstances, that would not be objectionable. And I don't care what you do. He can do all the examination he wants. I will tell you, if you do another set of bite wings, you're wasting your time, because I don't care what comes up on those x-rays. We're not doing it. We're doing my implants. It's been 3 years. That was the next in line. And I'll let them do the bite wings. But I don't want to come in at all if they don't put that abutment in there and try it and make sure it fits so we can get porcelain put on it. And now at this time I'm talking to Lisa on this particular day. I talked to the receptionist, or whatever her position title is, first, and I ended up talking to Lisa, and either way, whoever said it, they said, you know, well, I don't know what your physician's going to want to do. And again, I said, he can do all he wants, but he's got to at least do this. And they told me they'd get back with me. Well, they never got back with me, and I'm getting a little screwed up on the order. Let me back up just a step. While I was talking to Lisa, whether it was now, then, or later, but it was involved in getting another appointment. Because as a matter of fact, it wasn't when I talked that day. Lisa did finally call me back one day. I can't remember how long it was after that. Week and a half, 2 weeks. I didn't think they were going to call me back, because up until this point, they hadn't called me back in them 2 months. So I started looking for another dentist that could finish the work. And Lisa called me back, whatever date it was, I don't remember. Roughly 2 weeks after the last conversation, if you did the math, to make an appointment. And I told her, I said, and we went around and around with, do you know what you need to done next? Yes, I do, and this, and the other dentist, and yeah, he can do whatever he wants. But I said, I'm going to go ahead and come in for this appointment and see how it goes. But I made an appointment for another dentist. I don't remember if it was that day. I think she called me on a Friday or maybe even a Thursday. I was only working 3 days a week there. And I said, I got an appointment Monday with another dentist to get an appraisal and whether or not he'll pick up where you left off if necessary. And Lisa said, I think that would be your best bet. And to go with another dentist. And I said, well, we'll see. And I said, well, if I do, I said, well, then I need to get a final bill or a reimbursement for what I've already paid for and haven't had done. This work that is done, all my abutments, I'd like to take them with me, and if there's a balance on them, pay it. And that's what brings us to today. At this time, I can't remember when all those phone calls happened. I did call Lisa's boss last Friday. His name is Weldon. And I just told him that I needed to get this information. And Lisa called me back, and Lisa didn't make the decision. She is just the messenger. And she told me that risk management has decided not to give me my materials, my abutments. They also decided not to refund me my material costs because that money goes to pay the lab. Now, I had paid $5,000 towards a total of 12.5 roughly. And they're going to send me back $800, something like that. And keep the $4,000 under the guise of I'm going to use the work that they did and blah, 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 blah. But and something will go bad and they'll get sued and they have no control over it. And I can see not that that would ever happen. And it's kind of a valid argument. The only part about it that's not valid is all the bullshit they put me through, the lies and the bullshit crap. They have not told me, even to this day, why they made me pull that tooth. The real truth. They've given me bullshit answers. Like I think I said in the first video, they should have pulled tooth number 2 because it was in the way of putting implant in on tooth number 3. And because I was sedated for the surgery, because they were doing a sinus lift at the same time, when they probably realized that mistake, if they even realized at the time it was a mistake. He certainly realized that tooth number 2 was in the way because he put the implant in on an angle to match the angle that tooth number 2 was. It's basically parallel with the angle that tooth number 2 was on, which is quite an angle. I didn't measure it, but I'd have to guess it was 20 degrees. 20 degrees or more. That's a significant angle. It might even be, yeah, like I said, it might even be more than that. And I lost my train of thought. But anyway, yeah, so they say they've never told me that. After my conversation with Lisa today, I let her know that I knew. She refused to talk. She's like, I can't, I'm not going into this, I'm not, you know. Yeah, I know. So, just in this entire video, I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose. I've already talked to attorneys. I pretty much can't sue them for enough to make it worthwhile for an attorney to take it on pay if you win, because all they can probably do is get me my money back for the damages done, which I would in turn have to give to the attorney if I was hiring a regular attorney. So the lawsuit is pointless, although I'm sure that's why they've been covering it up until today, when the statute of limitations ran out on that mistake. That's why I finally got a call today. They have been stalling and stalling and stalling and stalling. Some of this might be fraud. Now I asked that woman 2 times. Once for sure with a witness, my girlfriend. The second time, I may have had a recorder running. I don't remember if I did end up buying a recorder.